streaming event in celebration of this magnificent book, 1% More, The Hidden Force to Creating Extraordinary Results in Life and Business. I'm Becky Norwood. I'm with Spotlight Publishing, and we are celebrating today the book launch we have DeCarmine. He's the author of 1% More, the main author, the heart and soul behind this whole book coming to be. Congratulations, Lynn. You've done extremely well in this book launch. Really, really proud of you. We also have Robert W. Jones from iNetpreneur Network. Robert wrote the foreword of the book and also one chapter. And then we have Mike Lamothe. What do you do in the world, Mike?
I work with coaches and a sales trainer for coaches and help them with their enrollment calls. So I work
Very
with
cool.
Enrolling Mastery.
Enrolling Mastery. I noticed your chapter is called 5 Golden Rules of Sales to Get People to Take Action. So what made you, Mike, decide to participate in this compilation book in the 1% More?
Well, one, Leonard is a fantastic human being. One,
Yes,
being a
indeed.
part of anything that he's a part of is fantastic. And two, I know that there are a lot of coaches and consultants that Leonard tracks, and I know that a lot of them struggle with enrolling clients. So I thought I could contribute something of value.
Well, you certainly did. Because I get to see the books well before they're brought to the public. I really gained a lot from what you wrote in your chapter. And Robert, along with the foreword, you wrote your chapter on partnership can take the form of many things. Tell us about that, and also tell to us about why you chose to participate in this amazing book.
Well, I think like the last 2.5 years, we've gone through a crazy turn in the way that we look at business and the way that we look at partnerships. And my wife and we own this network, and we had to actually come back together after COVID because I wasn't able to go to my office. So we actually have 2 home offices here together, and we've had to really learn how to not just play together as parents, to play together as business partners, but actually play together in the same space. And I think there's a lot of people who have had to make those pivots and changes and become resilient in that. The reason, that I wanted to be in the book is because, Len's great. He's become one of my best friends. He's an advocate. He's a partner as well. And he's someone I turn to, in confidence when I'm in need. And why I wanted to contribute is because, I have a saying that says, what good is personal development if you're not going to use it? And what better way to look at personal development than 1% more? Because that is something that you should have each and every day, even if it's a 0.5%. As long as you're making steps forward, you can, actually contribute in a greater way with those steps on your pathway in this world.
Very good. Yes, it's you shine as in a wonderful example. But one of the things that I have observed as far as working with Lynn in this book is his passion, his drive to make a difference. And I really loved how he was able to take and create the 4 pillars: awareness, growth, action, and impact. And really based the entire book, he very skillfully brought together, actually, including himself, 24 authors that were able to really pull it all together. But Lynn went the extra mile by taking each chapter and asking deeper questions based on what each of the authors wrote. Lynn, how has this been for you to pull this book together?
It's been a roller coaster of emotions and challenges. This book was supposed to be done, last year, and then unfortunately my father passed away, and I had to put everything on hold. And I'm very grateful for all the authors. You said, "Len, take your time. We're here for you. We'll make this work. Let us know when you get things resolved," because there's just a lot on my plate at that time, and I just couldn't focus back on writing again. And once I was able to get through that challenge, I got the flow back, and I practically wrote this book, Becky, as you know, within 2.5 months, and then with revisions 3 altogether. And I just put my all into this. I'm like, I have 23 people, 24 people. I can't let down. I got to make this book extraordinary, and I have to go above and beyond what I originally had the idea of, and things just started to come together. And then I'm like, oh, I got to make this flow for everybody. So I went back and reread everybody's chapters, came up with questions for their chapter to make the book more interactive. I really wanted to make this book completely different than any co-author book out there. A lot of co-author books is just chapter, chapter, chapter. I wanted to make it flow through the extraordinary being movement. We have 4 pillars, like you said: awareness, growth, action, and impact. And I wanted to pull them together and put the authors in those additional pillars to really emphasize the power of each one and their stories and their strategies and their techniques in order to grow on that foundation. This book is just a practical foundational book for personal transformation. It is a starting point. And Robert and I have had conversations in the past that growth is continuous. You always have to keep growing. There is no end to it, but you have to be smart and resourceful and be consistent with the growth and the transformation that you want in life.
Well, the striking thing to me is the wide variety of authors that you were able to invite to the book, and how they all collaborated, whether they ever got to meet each other personally or not, as of yet. But to really convey the whole premise of why you wrote the book, you did a very good job in choosing the authors that would help you get to that point. What is Lynn, you have Extraordinary Being Movement, and care to share about that?
Sure, Becky. Yeah. The Extraordinary Being Movement is a full-service personal development company. Our mission is to help people transform, give them the power, the growth that they need, learn to become confident, learn to become leaders in their own life. And I do that through our podcast show. And that's how I met a number of these authors, is through interviewing them. We interview people all over the world with my 2 other partners, Christopher Shiver and Fred Martinez. And we have a great time hearing about their stories, their strategies, their tips. So, the idea came about, like, let's put a book together. Let's move this to a whole nother format and get the word out there about anything in life is possible. There's unlimited possibilities out there, and you have the ability to make things happen. And that's what the Extraordinary Being Movement is about, is showing you that there are unlimited possibilities, and you can create whatever you want. There are no limitations. The only limitation is up here in your mind. You can figure out ways to become resourceful. You can figure out ways how to collaborate, build partnerships, make friends. Like my friendship with Mike is fantastic. Mike and I are both coaches. We go back and forth about ideas and strategies and programs. We talk about all different things. So it's fantastic. And working with Robert is a true mentor to me. I have learned more from Robert, being a part of him, listening to him speak, being part of the iNetpreneur Personal Development Academy, and being a facilitator with him, even being in his books. I have learned so much. For these 2 gentlemen here have been real big inspirations to me that have helped me move forward, writing this book, giving me the confidence and the courage. And that's what the Extraordinary Being Movement is about, bringing people together, bringing this world of coaches and business leaders together for people to learn about them, so that they can get the tools and resources necessary to grow.
Well, the beautiful part of that is that people don't have to be alone.
No, not at all.
There is collaboration. We don't have to be that lonely person out there that's trying to figure it all out for ourselves, because there is so many people making an impactful influence in the world today, and bringing people together as you have. I've been on a couple of your shows, and I felt supported. I felt, the conversations were rich, and I knew that I had the support behind me. Just by the way you guys did, you and Christopher and Fred were able to bring out the questions and draw me in and make me feel like what I'm doing in the world is truly of value. And I wanted to, so appreciate how you do that.
Well, I appreciate that, Becky, because all of us have gifts. We all have our gifts, but we forget sometimes what they are, or we never really fully develop them, but we all have a yearning inside to be more. And that's what 1% More is about, is just small, consistent, actionable steps, simple to use, easy strategies to get you from point A to point B to get you from where you are now to living your dreams. And life is messy. There's no one simple way to do things. It's like climbing a mountain. You just have to zigzag your way up to the top, but once you get there, it's so rewarding. But along the way, you're going to have people like Robert, like Mike, who are going to be able to get you to the next level in each step of the way. And as you grow, you're going to meet people along your path. And these people are going to change your life in one way or another. I always say that there's three, people come in your life for three reasons: for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime. They either come in as a reason to show you something, to help you with something, for a season, just for a short term, to really give you the tools and knowledge that you need, or a lifetime to really, expand upon something that you need to see, a blind spot that you really need to learn, so that you can take what you learn from that one relationship and apply it to many others, so you can grow as a person and become more successful in life.
Very, very cool. So, Mike, you're sitting there quiet, and I can see those wheels turning. As you have collaborated with Lynn, and the work that both of you do, that you've both mentioned that you have had a lot of collaboration together, what's your biggest takeaway from what Lynn has brought to the world today, and how does that apply in the way in how you serve in the world?
Well, one of the things about Len is he doesn't do anything average, right? He doesn't do anything like halfway, and he doesn't do anything like just to get it done, right? So he has a huge drive, a huge heart, and basically working with Len, talking with Len, collaborating with Len has helped me level up, right? Because on some things, maybe I don't want to do it, maybe I'm not driven to do it. I see how he does everything. It doesn't matter if he's helping me with something that's not even like business related. It could be just helping me with something at the house, right? Like he helped me put together this fighting thing. It was awesome. But like everything he does it well. Like I was like, it's okay, it's good enough. And he's like, no, hold on. And he gets it just right. And it's like, wow, it's so much better now. So collaborating with Len has helped me take my game up to the next level. When I get things, it's good enough. And it's like, is it? And I'm like, okay, cool. Like it's just about putting your best foot forward. And he inspires me to do better. So.
And what do you feel like what would you like to see if somebody picks up this book and reads your chapter? What do you hope they walk away with?
That's a tough question, because I think everyone's going to walk away with whatever they need at the time, right? It depends where they're at.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But it's an understanding that to truly help people, to really make big breakthroughs in people's lives and have them, that you have to, on some level, challenge their limiting beliefs and get them to shift, right? So they have a breakthrough. And a lot of people, like coaches and stuff, they want everyone to like them and they want to be nice, and it's just cool, but that's not what it's going to take to get someone to shift, right? I'm not talking about like just challenging them per se, but challenge their limiting beliefs and loving them enough to tell them the truth, right? Everyone they want to blow a sale, or they don't want to upset somebody, and they come from a place of wanting versus a place of giving.
Right. And the giving is such an important thing. I always say the more you give, the more you end up getting. And it's because of it's just the way life is. And if you're willing to give of yourself, it comes back around, maybe not from that one individual, but some way it always comes back around, and you get the answers to things that maybe you would have never had an opportunity to see life in a different way.
Yeah, and I think one thing I'd like to add to that you made me think of is when you're doing things out of love, right, versus out of fear. Like I don't want this thing to happen. That's kind of a fear-based thing versus I'm gonna tell them the truth, and whatever happens. I always say our job on the calls is to hold up the mirror so people can actually see what's going on. And some people aren't going to like it, and that's okay. Our job is just to do that, to get them to a place where they can realize what's going on, and then from there they can make a decision out of power. Yes, I want to change this, or no, I don't want to change this, and that's okay either way.
Very good. Beautiful. So for those that are listening, in the chat, there is a link, but if you don't see it from where you're listening, it's http://getbook.at/1% more. So hopefully you'll pick up a copy of this book. It's remarkable. Robert, you've worked with Len for a good while. You serve the world in a big way. You wrote the foreword in this book, showing a lot of support for the things that Lynn has done. And then you also talked about partnership. Let's expand on what partnership is and how you mean partnership.
Well, I mean, partnership can be looked at three ways. You can have formal partnerships, you can have informal partnerships, and then you can have an alternative partnerships. And what I mean by that is a formal partnership might be a marriage. It might be a signed contract for two people running a business or more. An informal contract may be something that Lynn and I do, and we run an academy together for personal development. And there's even alternative partnerships, and that's where people they work together for a common good, but they do it over alignment and clarity, not because it's a role or a position or something that's signed where they have different tools and needs. Going back, and I want to answer this a little bit too, because I didn't get a chance to, is when it comes to Lynn, a lot of our conversations have been heart set. The partner has to have a heart set and a mindset for who you're working with, and from that you work on your skill sets. And see, with that, you can have the intelligence, you can have the emotion, you can have all that in there. But the last thing that Len does, and then partners all should do, is put energy into it. And I think a lot of the time where there's failures in partnerships, it's a failure to communicate. It's holding those grudges. It's not seeking to understand the other person. All of these things are paramount in true partnerships. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to have a voice. Everyone has a contribution. Everyone has a gift. And together, where partnerships really succeed is they build a pathway together. And you do this because the synergy of two, or three or four can be infinite. But here's the catch. If you don't run those partnerships with certain agreements, your partnership won't go forward, and the synergy can collapse very, very quickly. And I think that is something that always needs to be there. The energy in that partner needs to be 1 or 1A when it comes to the goals and the intentions that you set. And the reason why I wanted to be in this book is, in my world of understanding is business owners want to accelerate who they are and what they do. And they do it in three ways. It's the information that they feed themselves with, and that's 1% more of this book. It's the people they surround themselves with, and some of them become those partners. But the third, I think, and most important thing is it's the inspiration of the synergy of being with others, because that drives those aspirations. And to me, that was, in my mind, what 1% more is. It's driving those internal aspirations to create a compounding effect to everyone that's around you. And that's what Mike does. That's what you do, Becky. That's what you do, Len. And that's what I want to achieve, because it's not about what you get out of life. It's about what you put into life.
Wow, could not be said better. That is beautiful. There's so much that it can be said for collaboration, and this is a prime example in the way that you gentlemen have really stepped up in the world. And part of the transformation for Spotlight Publishing is the light in Spotlight means loving influencers, growing heartfelt transformations. And that's what the three of you are doing, and helping to bring this body of work to the world is something that is really very, very important to really stand up and shine the light that we each individually have, and collectively it makes all the difference in the world. So it's really beautiful what we're all doing in this world. And I think about COVID, and you mentioned COVID at the beginning of the conversation. And I've heard so many differing viewpoints, and we know that people were ill, many passed on during this time. But I also feel that COVID came about as a time for us to really go deep as to who we are, how we're serving in the world. It brought families together. It even helped our earth, because our earth was kind of moaning and groaning a little bit there. And at the onset of COVID, very few cars were on the road, and very few people were out and about. And I think it gave our earth a chance to rest. But at the same time, when the families had to come together, I think there were a lot of parents that never spent any time with their kids. And the realization that, wow, this is pretty cool. I get to, or their mates, and you and Sean needing to come together the way you have. It's it has its challenges, but actually in the long run, it brings that peace and that knowingness that you can do something like this and really serve even in a better way, in a bigger way.
Well, it's really interesting you talk about that, because one of the facts that Sean brought out to me is in the last 2.5 years in the workforce, when it comes to the female side of the workforce, of those who have left the workforce that are women, 1 in 5 said they're not going back.
Yes.
And what they found is they don't need to have 2 working parents. They don't need to have 2 cars. They don't need to have 2 insurances. They don't need to have 2 lives. They can actually have 1 life. And for many of the women, and probably some men, they found that the fundamental principles of what they wanted in their life wasn't just about the work and themselves. It was about the family and their kids. And, it really made me think about that, because when Sean was talking to me, she's like, we live in a really great world. We've had to suffer through some things the last 2.5 years, but we get to be with our kids as independent entrepreneur business owners. And we get to see them off to school in the morning, and we get to greet them when they come, in the afternoon. And for us, we can see that tide and change. And I think that we're going to see a whole new awareness, a whole new demographic of these young kids coming up, where they have parents putting that lifeblood into them.
Absolutely.
And that's a space that I want to keep filling for all of us here, is because, I look at it this way. I'm just a single link, in humanity. There's a link that I connect to before me, and there's links that are connecting to after me. When I look at my line in life, what does that look like? And for me, it's about serving others, so we can all do better together.
Wow, couldn't be said better. That's beautiful. And, Lynn, you've had massive things that you've had to deal with since this book started. And, having to take the time out to losing your dad, which we honor you. And I know that you had a lot on you to take care of all that transpired with that. And yet you stuck with it, and you've continued. And I've seen incredible growth since we first began, because you allowed yourself to grow, because you took it, chose to grow. I always say that you can choose to thrive. You choose the things that happen in your life, and you've made some really beautiful choices. So I wanted to honor you for that. Yeah. So any other comments, gentlemen, before we conclude our interview today in celebration of this magnificent book?
I just want to say something to kind of touch on what you were talking about with like the COVID and everything, and how it kind of brought us closer together. And one of the things I think is like the greatest motivator is realizing, I think that's what happened with COVID, is we realized that our life is finite and we're not going to live forever. And people, were dying and whatnot. And it's like, it created a sense of urgency with people to think like, what am I doing all this for? Right? Like, why am I doing this job I don't like? So people, I'm really excited now these times, because people they're owning their power, and they're like, I don't know how much time I have, and I want to do this. I want to try this. I'm not going to, I want to see if I can succeed at this. So I'm seeing people step out and do more. And I really think it's a great motivator, because we all want to make an impact. We all want to have a purpose of being here. And sometimes life, you get caught up with things, and you're in a job you don't like. And what am I doing this for? So it's really exciting times. People are coming out more. They're owning their power. They're doing what they want to do. They're making things priorities. Like, why are we working, doing all this stuff just to pay for like really expensive toys? One of us cannot work, like you said, and spend time with the family. And I think we all realize we're being separated. The most important thing is the connections we have, right? We want to feel connected, that we're bigger, part of something bigger than just us. And I think that it's really setting the tone of the times to come.
Well, interesting that in this conversation is, I've said this a number of times, is what if COVID had came 12, 15 years ago? Would we have been prepared? Would we have been ready? Would we have had the tool sets to pick up as we have? We are really, truly blessed that it came at a time that it did, when we had the ability to be connected through, whether it was through a Zoom conversation or, we couldn't be in person, but we could still stay connected. And if it had happened 15 years ago, we wouldn't have had that tool set. So, think of I don't like to think of it myself as Pollyanna kind of a personality, but for me, I have observed a lot of good come from all of this. And I think that, if it was to happen at any time in history, this was a beautiful time for it to happen. So thank you. So gentlemen, any other concluding thoughts before we end our interview?
Yeah, Becky, I just want to thank all the authors for being a part of this with me, taking a chance on this idea that I had, which wasn't completely fleshed out yet, but believing in me, taking the opportunity with me, and really coming together and having those partnerships and having that collaboration to make something that we can give out to the world to have a ripple effect, so that, have that transformational ripple effect, to put some positive, some greatness in the world through this book and through the authors who contributed. And I also have to thank, all my friends, all my family members who have purchased the book already, who are leaving reviews, who have supported me. Because there were times that I was wanting to walk away. I was like, I don't know if I can even do this. And I had tons of encouragement, and I just persisted through it. I'm resilient. I know Robert and I talk about resilience a lot of time. I was resilient through the process, and I'm just so appreciative and grateful for everybody who has, messaged me, made comments on social media, and went out and purchased the book already. I appreciate it. So make sure you get your copy today, and so you can, transform your life and transform the world and meet these extraordinary people that I've brought together who want to share their gifts with you.
Beautiful. Couldn't be said better. Well, thank you for this beautiful conversation. It's nice to connect with the three of you. And Mike, I had not met you before. It's nice to put the voice and the face behind the writing of the words, and it's really, really cool. So, and Robert, it's great to see you again too.
Good to see you, Becky, and good to see you, Mike, as well.
All right.
Thank you,
so
everyone.
We'll conclude our broadcast.